Okay. So, hello, Goldbergs. Hi, Ellie. Hi, Josh. Thank you all very much for agreeing to do this and sitting for this interview. We enjoy getting to learn about each other from a distance. The pandemic has made a lot of people farther apart from each other, and we're hoping that we take advantage of the opportunity to learn about each other. People can connect to the shul, connect to each other through this Member Mondays program that we've been doing. And I guess, Ellie, we'll start with you. I think a lot of people know Josh. Josh has been a long time. Josh, was your bar mitzvah was in this shul, right?
Uh, Everything was in this show. Yes,
And your bris, not your wedding.
not
Right?
my wedding. Right, that's
Okay,
true.
there you go.
That's Ellie's fault. But you can get
All
to
right.
it.
So, Ellie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
About myself, I was born in California. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Went to college in Chicago, so big Midwestern background. Um, I have a bachelor's in graphic design. I have a master's in event and meeting management.
So, do you see any connections between like Midwestern values and Virginia values or Southern? Is there a connection there?
Yeah, I always say like our communities are very similar. I mean, since I've left St. Louis, it's like doubled or tripled in size. So
Mhm.
I go back and I don't know anyone anymore, which is obviously very different than Richmond, where everyone knows everyone.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, values, school, education wise, I think they're very similar.
Mhm. Yeah, when I moved here from Chicago, I kind of felt the same thing in terms of people having some similar value systems. So, Josh, I won't ask you why the wedding was not at Shul, KBI. We don't have to get into that. But
His Ofrif was, does that count?
Josh, people might think that you're a full-time volunteer in light of all that you do. Do you have a job that you also do on a regular basis as well? Tell us a little bit about your company.
Not for the last 9 months, but yes, normally I do. I'm actually in my office right now. Don't worry, no one else is here, so we're safe. Um, yes, my company is called AJ Tickets. We buy and sell sports tickets, concerts, theater. We buy them usually directly from the teams and resell them on the secondary market. And we've been doing that for, I guess, about 12 years ago we started. My partner Ariel Kashik and myself, we started about 12 years ago. And yeah, I mean, we did it full time since 2011. I started full time doing this, so it's been a while.
Yeah, I've started doing this, what I do in 2011 also. So, so Ellie, I had the pleasure of knowing your parents well. Every time they come, I make sure that I see them. A lot of people that are going to be watching this don't know your parents, but you guys are two of our all-star volunteers. So Ellie, if you could tell us a little bit about how your parents kind of inspired you or put within your own childhood and background this drive to be a part of community and build community, etc.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my parents were always involved in the community. I remember growing up, my mom would do these huge auctions to raise money for the school. Even when I was in college, I went back and helped her do that. And my dad was always, running either the youth at the shul or on some kind of board, and just instilled in the whole family just to be involved and to help out where you can. So something we've done forever. And in high school, I was running the school Shabbatones and doing all kinds of stuff, and really was my passion for going into event management. And when I met my in-laws, my mother-in-law commented that in Virginia and Richmond, we call those volunteers. So was, happy to jump in when I moved here and get involved.
Even before, Ellie did her internship for her master's as the food festival coordinator. So.
Oh, that's very good. I did not know we were offering degrees, but that sounds like there could be some opportunity there.
Ben Friedlander had to sign off on it.
Yeah, well, so, but I guess we should have a little bit of a plug for NCSY. I know your mom's a big fan of NCSY, and your family was very involved in NCSY.
Yep.
And I'm sure that was part of the volunteerism also.
Yeah, I ran Midwest Kitchens for many years, and it was good prep for Food Festival because I learned how to serve mass quantities.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Midwest is one of the many regions around the country, and it's kind of just referred to as the Midwest region of NCSY. So, Josh, now everybody here, most people here know what your parents are involved with. Now, I don't think anybody really knows the full extent of how much they do. I don't even think they want people to know how much they do because it is a ton. I get dizzy just thinking about the number of hours that go into it, especially here at Shul. But Josh, maybe take us kind of behind the scenes a little bit and tell us, as a child, how were they able to transfer that to the next generation? What was that like as a child growing up, knowing, hey, my parents have jobs, but then they also have this whole other world that they're involved with in such a major way. So what was it like growing up with that, and how were they able to kind of transfer that to you?
Um, well, as much as you claim I do, I can assure you my parents do more, which you'll have to hear all about on their Member Monday. But yeah, I think including us in that volunteerism was an important aspect growing up. I mean, we got to see firsthand by participating. They brought us to all of the events that they were partaking of, conversations around the house, centered around the Jewish community and how they were working to make it better. I mean, we helped out cleaning up the school during the summers and making the school a better place. So including us in all of that just became our lesson, our life lesson. It was ingrained in us from that early age. Mm-hmm. And so I think we've carried that through to adult life, where now it's a passion of ours. It's always been important to us, and now we have the adult capabilities of making a difference.
Mm-hmm. So Elly, tell us a little bit about your children, and I know that you're looking to do this, I'm sure, for your children as well, to pass this tradition along. So first of all, if you can introduce us to your children a little bit, tell us a little bit about them so that people know the little Goldbergs.
So we have our oldest are twins, Moshe and Malki. They're 7. Then we have Dahlia, who's 3.5, and Avi, who is 8 weeks. 8 weeks now. So we try and involve them. Josh will take them when he's doing little things at Shul, putting flyers in Machzor on, for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. When we're cooking for food festival, they are probably our youngest and most involved youngsters. For months before food festival, they're at Shul helping. And we talk about it a lot, all the things that we're doing, just to show them that this is something that's really important to us. Josh, they know Josh has a board meeting, or he's doing, going different places for different organizations, and just, making sure that they're aware that that these things take work and time and energy, and showing them that that's important to us.
Yeah, and things don't just happen on their own, for sure. It's really super important. So, Josh, what motivated you specifically? I know you're on the day school board, the federation board. What are those motivations like? Is it the same motivation, different interests in each of those places? What kind of drove you to be a part of those organizations and their missions?
I mean, the overarching theme is making the Jewish community better, making Richmond a better place. As they say, when I leave it better than when I was here. Each agency obviously has a different mission and a different role to play here in Richmond. And so the specifics as to why I got involved in each of them is different, but certainly with RTA, with the day school, a sense of giving back for what I got as a child going there, but also making a difference for my kids while they're there. And, one day maybe my grandkids who will hopefully one day have a chance to go there. That's important to me.
That's very, very special. And Elly, maybe just very briefly about the sisterhood and kind of maybe one highlight from your career so far in the synagogue sisterhood, if you had to think back about some of the programs and events as a sisterhood that you particularly enjoyed, or whatever comes to mind.
Beth Steiner is definitely comes to mind pretty, just the people that have helped me out, and we've had just a blast in the kitchen, and it's something, we do it Christmas when there's nothing else to do. So it's been a very popular event. But we've had a lot of fun activities, going to do pottery and painting in the social hall, and just getting to spend time together. And we definitely right now miss that
Right.
over the last 9 months. But yeah, definitely Best Diner has been a really fun one.
That's a good segue, because I think many of us, while it's very laborious, I mean, right now we would be in the thick of it preparing for the food festival. And it's strange to say it, but I think I speak for many of us who were not looking to have the year off. One of the casualties of this pandemic was this great community building event of coming together. And it's sad, but we also learn about how much we value it by missing out on it for the year. So Josh, you've been such a warrior when it comes to the food festival for so many years. I guess if you could kind of describe for people and kind of sum up what you like about it the most in terms of what you think it offers the community, the shul. I mean, beyond the dollars, which is very obvious. Certainly we're trying to fill
that was my answer.
I know. I was trying to cut you
I'm
off.
a treasurer. I'm a numbers person, dollars person. But no, it outside of the dollars, it does bring a lot of us together. Like, it's single-handedly the biggest Jewish event in Richmond. There's nothing that even comes close, from the number of man hours, the number of volunteers day of that it takes to create the event and make it happen. It brings people together. I meet people at the food festival who are volunteering that I've never met before, who obviously, are not KBI members at that point, but they have a passion for Judaism and or Jewish food at least, and that's brought them out to volunteer, and getting to know my fellow KBI members and community members better throughout what is an intense, grueling 48 hours of food service, and the months of prep work beforehand. It brings us all, and doing a lot of good for the community.
Why do you think it became so big? It had modest beginnings, and I don't know if you were local for all of those years. I think you probably attended each of them, but to what do you attribute the massive growth of the event?
I mean, the Jewish culture has been around for longer than pretty much any culture that still exists, obviously. So for people, Jewish or not Jewish, to be able to come out and say, I know what a knish is. I know what a latke is. I know what, I don't want to say stuffed cabbage, but I know what those food items are. It reminds me of something, whether it was my bubby or my Jewish grandmother, my time in New York, where there's a lot of Jewish delis and things like that. Like, it's a cultural thing for society, and certainly in Richmond, there's a lot of food festivals and people like to partake of those kinds of things. So getting to come and experience the Jewish culture, even for non-Jews, is exciting. So we saw the demand grow when we moved from KBI to the Weinstein JCC. It gave us bigger capacity, and we saw people show up. So, and
it must have been, I'm sure back in the day, was a conversation, hey, do we really need all this room? Or is moving to the JCC really going to be necessary? I guess we saw the massive demand, but I'm pretty sure, Josh, you and I agree, and others will agree as well, that we're hopeful that people will get in touch with these parts of their culture and perhaps look into their culture a little bit more.
I mean, the event is for Jews and non-Jews alike. So the non-Jews aren't going to look into their Jewish past or Jewish culture, but yes,
right.
It certainly brings a light into the nation. It brings information and what we represent out into the world.
Yeah. So, Elly, were you prepared when you saw it for the first time? I know everybody, did they oversell it? What did you encounter? What were you thinking about the first time you saw the food festival? Have you ever, because you've been in all these different communities, California, the Midwest, have you ever seen anything like it? Is there anything that struck you when you first saw it in terms of how big it was? What was your first year?
My first year was the last year we had it in the KBI social hall. Mm-hmm. And I was shocked when, I'd heard all about it, kind of married into the family that was putting all their effort into it and heard lots about it. And when I got there, the lines were like out the door, and there was like nowhere to walk. And like we were trying to get food to the tables at the end behind people and kind of navigate. And I could not believe, we were clearly outgrowing, the show. But having had that, internship, let's call it, that first year, and I was kind of going from group to group, seeing how all the different pieces were coming together, and the number of man hours it was taking, and the scope of the volunteerism. And I had never seen anything like it, at a nonprofit, where it was bringing in the outside world, and just, it's a very unique event.
Yeah, it's very special. And, even the thought of people crammed together the way that they are right now is kind of as we go through a pandemic, but definitely.
We're all wearing masks, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. But a shout out to all those who are working on holding us over until next year, when we can have those crowds, and all of the volunteers and donors making this Phantom Food Festival possible. But do you have a favorite dish, Elly, when it comes to the menu, or a favorite food item on the menu?
One I haven't made.
Any
of them that I didn't cook.
Right.
No. Favorite. I don't know, that stuffed cabbage, man. It's a favorite in the whole world, and it's one of my favorites too.
Okay.
It's an amazing crew that puts that together.
Josh, you have a favorite?
I don't usually get a chance to stop and eat. We usually, the schlepper crew, we get to steal some hot dogs on their way out to the front. Like,
right. Isn't that amazing? 2 days straight, you don't have a minute to eat. It's really true the way that it is. It's incredible. Now, Josh, I have to ask you a personal question here. Now, do your parents go to each of the kids and say, you better show up at the food festival this year, or else you're not for? How does that work? How do people fly hours and hours, and your siblings, family members? How exactly does that happen? Is there an ultimatum that comes down from on high from Rich and Diane?
We do have a family chat on WhatsApp, but there is no edict. We all must fly in from all over the country or all over the world to work the food festival. It's just like I said, it was ingrained in us. Even you saw when my parents were in Hawaii for a year, they flew back to work the food festival, aside from all the work they were doing from Hawaii for the food festival. So to see, my sister come from Georgia, my youngest brother Dan coming from California, just to work the food festival. It doesn't take coercion. It takes a flight ticket.
Now that's actually, I could be wrong about this. Now, Elly, didn't you have a family member that came once also to help the food festival or something like that?
My sister worked last year.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen if one year we said, okay, Diane, you're going to take over Rich's job. Rich, you take over Diane's job, and see what would happen if your dad's in the kitchen and your mom's behind the computer. Now, would that work at all?
Well, I have had childhood days where my dad did have to cook. I don't think that's a good idea. Okay. So we're better off as a congregational community with as things are right now. Now, the Friedlanders came on after the Goldbergs, all at the same time. Who came first, the Friedlanders or the Goldbergs? You mean for food festival or
yeah, when it comes to the food festival?
Food festival, I wasn't around for the beginning parts. I wasn't involved, but I think it was a collaborative. Everyone chipped in for the first year and onward.
Right. Now, Josh, do you have a favorite comment or feedback from any of the participants or attendees to the festival over the years? Is there any moment or feedback that kind of sticks out in your mind that in which you said to yourself, "Oh, this is pretty interesting," or "This is pretty amazing," or something like that?
I will say the number of local meaning like Virginia government officials that show up, and okay, maybe they're using it for some PR and stuff like that, but I remember Tim Kaine came a few years ago. There have been other people who have come to the food festival and made their presence known. To me, that's an astounding thing, to have like a local, Jewish synagogue event
Yeah.
where, our most well-known politicians for the state are attending.
It is amazing. Elly, you have a little bit of a background in event planning, is that right? And
I went straight from my master's to Richmond, so I didn't really get to use it besides
the food
festival.
That's where I'm going. So how does that event planning play into the food festival and vice versa? So you're using your professional skills in a sense. Tell us a little bit about your interest in event planning and how that came to be and how you're kind of using it, food festival or otherwise.
Yeah, so like I said before, I mean, my parents were always running things, growing up. So I learned a lot from my mom watching her run these massive, auctions and things, fundraisers. And then my high school had a big part in it. Every kid was assigned a job for the year. And my senior year, I ran our Chateau. We had 5 other cities come in. I was in charge of basically everything except the food and the decorations. So all the logistic planning, we went on a trip on Friday and housing and all the little details were kind of all up to me and my subcommittees. So that was my first introduction to what event planning looked like. And then again, through NCSY, helping with them, run their kitchens and serving and just all kinds of things, little things throughout my life really brought me into that passion of wanting to pursue that. And then coming to Richmond, marrying into the Goldbergs, who this is what they do, and this is what, their culture of life really helped me this is how I spend my spare time, whatever spare time I have.
Connect.
Yeah, just, we wanted to do things for a sisterhood, and now I'm starting to help with PBA at RTA, just using those skills and doing what I can.
That's very cool. And Josh, did you know you were an entrepreneur? Did you always know you were an entrepreneur? You have these startup skills. Now, the food festival is a startup, business on some level. It's a nonprofit, but when did you know you wanted to be a part of a startup? How did that kind of come to be, and how has that kind of impacted your volunteerism, with the most major one being Food Fest?
I'm still not sure that I want to be an entrepreneur. So, no, I honestly, I don't think I ever did want to be an entrepreneur. I don't have the risk-taking capabilities that it takes to be a real entrepreneur, like a serial entrepreneur. I kind of stumbled into this one. Ariel had started buying some tickets, and he asked me if I wanted to do it with him. I told him it was a dumb idea. I said, "There's no way that can work." He went back to doing it, came back to me a few months later, and said, showed me the results, and I said, "Okay, now I see results. I see it's working. Now I'll buy in. Now I'm interested." But I'm a good back end guy, which is why it works for the food festival. I do a lot of the back end stuff. I'm a big supporter with my time and effort. But I don't want to be a president of any organization. I don't want to be the guy at the lead. I'm good, supporting in a support role. So no, I did not want to be an entrepreneur. I lucked into this one,
yeah, that's very cool. And before we close, Josh, you were on the board for many years here at Shul, and I know that you and Elly helped start a fund here, which maybe we can tell some people about who don't know about it. I know it's near and dear to your heart, but maybe if you can tell us a little bit about this farm fund for those who might not be familiar.
Sure. So several years ago now, the Shul decided to honor my parents at the annual, I guess it's annual dinner. I'm not sure anymore, but
it's hard.
It's the year. But at the annual dinner. So in honor of that, my wife, my siblings, their spouses, etc., we came together and had a discussion about what would be the best way to honor my parents. So one of the ways that my parents support the Shul is every time they have a simcha that they want to honor the person, or unfortunately the reverse, if someone loses a family member or has some some negative times going through their lives. They have always sponsored a sitter or a chumash in that person's honor or memory for the shul. And so if you look through all the siddurim and chumashim, not that anyone's going to spend the time to do it, but you'll see my parents there a lot more prevalently than many other names.
Yeah.
So we decided to establish the Rich and Diane Goldberg Svarim Fund, which will annually, in perpetuity forever, supply some money to KBI to buy more siddurim or chumashim, or if there's none that are needed, to buy other Jewish books to help out with educational purposes or whatever other needs the shul has.
And only because I don't want to get any flack afterwards, I guess I have to give you both a moment just to talk about life and legacy. Here you go. You got 30 seconds
Thank
to
you.
plug. This program is brought to you by our Life and Legacy. Go ahead, Josh.
Well, so I mean, Life and Legacy was an impetus into that thought process, meaning creating that perpetual gift where I mean, Life and Legacy is about afterlife gifts. In this case, we decided to do it while we're still alive, while my parents are still alive as well. But creating that perpetual gift that will help the shul forever. There will always be new siddurim and chumashim that are being purchased and used in my parents' honor. And so that's an important piece of what the Life and Legacy program is. So I encourage everyone to ask for more information about it. It's been a transformative program, a partnership between the whole community really, but led by the Richmond Jewish Foundation and the Harold Greenspoon Foundation. But it's changed the way the community and the shul has thought about donors, donor relations, has thought about planning for the future and what the future is going to look like, what the shul is going to look like, not just 2 years from now, not just 5 years from now, but 100 years from now, or what are we, 166 years from now, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, yes. 1856. But I'll say that the two of you have really been pillars here, not just involved with philanthropy at a distance, but involved with philanthropy, kind of rolling up your sleeves and getting involved in that way. So we really appreciate it. Thank you both for taking the time, and stay safe, stay healthy. We send regards to your kids as well. And we look forward to seeing you when this is over, and in a safe way, hopefully sooner rather than later. But thank you for sharing a little bit about your lives with all the rest of us in the synagogue. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.